Welcome to Brandworking TV with your host, Lauren Clement, from the Ultimate Business Propeller.
Cathryn was just 6 years old when her 3-year-old friend disappeared. As the search for Meshack dwindled, Cathryn couldn't understand why everyone was still not out looking for him. Nor could she understand why they called it a search party when it was an unimaginable nightmare. That nightmare shaped Cathryn into the protector that she would later become as the legal Lioness. Cathryn chose a legal career because she felt it was a way she could honour her lost friend and make a real difference to those who needed help. She has a passion for protecting businesses from bullies and bringing business communities together. She's a 5-time published author and international award winner and has secured intellectual property for international pop stars and television shows. She's personally argued intellectual property and contract disputes in court and has over 1,000 trademark registrations under her belt. Cathryn, welcome to Brandworking TV. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Lauren. It's great to be here.
Now, you were a young girl when your best friend went missing in South Africa. Tell me a little bit more about how that particular part of your life drives you to do what you do now.
Yes, that's right, Lauren. I was only 6 years old and my friend Meshack disappeared, and it was the most terrifying event, and the emotion still gets to me today. He disappeared, he was gone, nobody knew where he was, and it was a great human tragedy, and he was never found actually, and later the police believed that he might have been murdered. But beside the human tragedy, I saw the panic of the family and the adults, and the difficulty of engaging with the legal system that was supposed to be there to help was so confusing and actually made a difficult situation worse. And you'll notice I didn't go into criminal law, and the reason for that was I kind of, even in my young mind, I had a vision in my mind that if I went into a court and I wouldn't know if one of those defendants in the court was perhaps the person who had taken my friend. So I wasn't interested in going into criminal court, but I was very interested in helping people navigate the legal system. And then I went into the field of more commercial and intellectual property, and the reason that I'm so passionate about that is that business is the heart of the family. And if your business goes downhill, or you don't know how to navigate the legal system as a business owner, that could be the end of the road for the family if the business goes under.
So it's like a ripple effect, and I guess that's what you saw as a child.
Yes.
As how it not only affected you and your family, but the family of the young boy, the environment around the community, everybody, the whole ripple effect. And it still happens today that people get themselves into legal strife and really struggle to get down-to-earth practical advice, and the ripple effect just affects everybody.
Exactly, and that's why one of my passions is to empower small businesses to understand the legal jungle, coming back to the nickname that my clients call me, the legal Lioness.
Yeah.
So I help them navigate that legal jungle, because sometimes if you just put in a few minor tweaks to your business at the beginning, it can help everything run smoothly and keep you out of legal hot water. You know that once you're in trouble, it's much harder to get out than to avoid it in the first place. And so that's really where my passion lies.
In protecting people.
That's right. That's right.
So the interesting thing is, from a human behaviour point of view though, and we talk about this a lot on Brandworking TV, is that most humans don't actually do anything until there's some sort of pressure or pain or problem. So what would your advice be to someone who perhaps either has a small business or is setting up a small business? What are the basic things they should be looking at doing right from the get-go?
Well, there's several basic things, but it's simply just upskilling and becoming aware of the legal issues in their particular industry. Now, there's some basic ones across all industries, and of course I'm very focused on intellectual property, so protecting their brand, protecting their copyright, making sure they're not infringing somebody else's. And I've got a lot of free videos online that people can go and access, 2 and 3 minute videos that explains these kinds of things. But also when they're working with somebody, just get it in writing. Some simple tip as that, and it doesn't have to be a big, long, complicated contract. Something as simple as that. So
just a one-page document that outlines the discussion you had.
Even just an exchange of bullet points. So you've had a chat with somebody, you've decided to work together on a project, or you're collaborating, then you just send a bullet point list by email, and that is sufficient because at least you're both clear as to what your obligations are, and more importantly, what will happen if something goes wrong.
Because entrepreneurs in general are quite creative people, aren't they? They come up with amazing ideas on a regular basis. And it is important to protect them, isn't it? Have you got an example perhaps for people about a time when someone thought they had done everything they could have done and they still weren't protected, maybe from a trademarking point of view?
Yes, I always think of one of my particular clients. She's actually a plumber, I love her to bits, a lady plumber, and she had registered her business name, registered her company name, and she thought she was completely secure. But she didn't realise that the trademark is the superpower. That's the legal right that trumps everything else. So she offered somebody a job online, and that person took my client's business name and registered it as a trademark. Then that person sent a legal letter to my client saying, "You're infringing my trademark."
And what happened?
Well, my client thought she was safe. She came in with a spring in her step and she said, "Well, can you tell these people to get lost?" And I said, "Actually, they're right because they've got the superpower. They've got the registered trademark."
Wow.
So in that situation, there's two options that we could have taken. One would have been to fight them through the courts, which is the only way to get a trademark removed. And I said to her, "You don't have $100,000 plus to waste." And then the second option is to rebrand, which still cost her $35,000 because she had the legal fees of settling the case, making sure she didn't have to pay damages, coming up with a new brand. As you know, that's not an easy thing.
Absolutely.
So that brand had been in her psyche for 10 years, and now she had to make the change. And she had to change her website, her URL, which meant she had an 80% dip in business because her current clients couldn't find her under her new name.
So, but again, it's that ripple effect, isn't it?
It is.
That one little thing that you just don't quite do right, and down the track, you could be in big trouble.
And that's the thing, we don't know what we don't know in life and in business. You can't see around the corner. And if you think about it with your teenagers, you can see when they're heading for disaster that they can't see. And that's the same in the legal arena. Just having that chat, having somebody who you trust that you can talk to about your legals, they can see the potential disaster looming and just put you on the correct path.
And that's the privilege, isn't it, I guess, that you have, is that you're standing outside of other people's businesses looking in, being able to spot those things. So, Cathryn, you've become a lawyer, you stood up in court and you fought for people's rights, but you're quite introverted and shy and had a terrible fear of public speaking. How did you overcome that to become a lawyer?
Well, one of the things that happened early on in my legal career, firstly, I was never going to stand up in court. I decided that was it, and I was going to work behind the scenes. And then one day I got past what in Australia we call the hospital pass, which is basically, it comes from rugby when they send you the ball and you're going to be crash tackled.
Yes.
And it was a case that nobody thought could be won. And so all the partners in the firm said, "I'm not going to do it," and they passed it to the next person. "I'm not going to do it," and then I was the last one in the line. And they said, "You'll be fine." I said, "But I don't do public speaking. I told you this." And they said, "You'll be fine." And anyway, the client knows we're going to lose. We know we're going to lose, so it doesn't matter. And then I thought, that's not who I am. Who I am is I always do the best, and don't tell me I can't do it. And so we went to court and I came up with a specific strategy that was very unusual. And the partners were saying, no, you're going to embarrass yourself. Don't argue it like that. But I knew in my heart that was the right way to go. And coming back to the human factor, if I lost that case, that particular business could have gone under because they couldn't have traded anymore under that trademark. And they had about 40 different families who worked for them. Then those families would have been out of work, and what would happen to their children?
Yes.
They would be uprooted. So that's where I came from and why I worked so hard, and I got up and I spoke and I won the case.
Wow.
Not only did I win the case, but after that they changed the law because of the way that I had argued the case.
Wow.
And I went, if I can do that when I'm nervous, what can I do when I've had a bit of training and coaching? And and this is where the spirit, I channel the spirit of the Lioness, where if somebody is threatening my cubs, my clients, I'm there, ferociously. But then the other side of the Lioness is empowering them and training them up. If you see a mother Lioness interacting with her cubs, that's what she does. She trains them for the real world. So I hope I never have to get into court to protect people. and I train them up to try and avoid that. But if I need to, then I can.
You can do it.
Yeah.
You've got the legal lioness on your side. That's awesome. Now, you also, Cathryn, you talk a lot in your book about how important it is to follow your passion and to make sure you're not infringing on other people's rights and so on, and the trademarking, which is so vital. But you also talk about, when we've discussed this before, about leaving a legacy. And I guess when you start a business for yourself as an entrepreneur, everyone wants to leave a positive impact on the planet. So what's your legacy for the world?
I love that question, Lauren, because at the beginning of the year, I was asked that same question. And at the beginning of the year, I said I wanted to impact 5,000 small businesses in a positive way. Just get them to have a better understanding of intellectual property so that they could protect themselves and earn the income from the intellectual property that they deserve. But I've, with all my videos online, I counted them up the other day, and I've already had 10,000 views. So 5,000 isn't enough. No. So my new goal for this next 12 months is to positively impact 100,000 businesses, and in the next 5 years, 1 million businesses. And having a platform like this means that people can become more aware just how important getting the legal bits right in their business is, and it gives them the power to generate the income that they deserve.
And protect it and look after it for future generations, for their family, for everybody else.
Exactly, and that's one of my drivers as well, is my husband's grandfather actually had his intellectual property stolen.
Wow.
And he was a great inventor, and he ended up estranged from his family. He ended up an alcoholic, and he died a pauper on a park bench. And his family thought he was useless, and he thought he was useless. His invention is still used today in the railways, and the thief became a multimillionaire.
Wow.
So for me, it's personal. When I help people with their intellectual property, I'm honouring that great man and that poor family relationship that broke down, and he was just incredible and nobody knew it. So my job is to make sure my clients have that protection so that people can understand how amazing they are and they can get the rewards they deserve.
Cathryn, it's not often I speak to a lawyer who I find is so passionate and so driven by your beliefs and your integrity. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here on the show today. If you'd like to know more about how to bulletproof your brand, especially as a small business, Cathryn has a book called Bulletproof Your Brand. Cathryn, who should get hold of the book and what's in it for them?
Any small business owner should get hold of the book, and even if you're thinking of going into business, whether you've got a brand yet or not, but if you do it before you get a brand, it'll be even more helpful to you. And it just tells you all of the steps that you need to take to select a brand that can be strong from a legal sense, and how to protect it. Make sure that A, you're not infringing somebody else's brand because you don't want to have to pay over your profits, and then B, how you can protect yourself so that nobody else can steal your brand.
So if you're in business, even if you've watched this and you've thought, well, hang on a minute, there's some things Cathryn's saying here, I don't know if we're protected or not, get hold of this book at this very address. And please do contact Cathryn to find out more about how you can protect your family, your business, your intellectual property, and make sure that you have a positive impact on the world that no one else can interfere with. Cathryn, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here on the show today. Thank you very much for sharing your story with us, and it's been absolutely awesome.
Thank you so much, Lauren. I really appreciate it.
So that's it for this episode of Brandworking TV. Remember, you have the most amazing natural gifts and talents to share with the world, and you do deserve to be well known, well paid, and wanted.